My name is Elyse MacKinnon and I'm the manager of the Overnight Welcome Centre right here in Glasgow. For the past 10 years, we have served the people of Glasgow by offering them a safe place to sleep during the coldest months of the year. This year, due to COVID, we have moved into a city centre hotel, still providing a safe place for them to sleep during the coldest months. Previously, at the Lodging House Mission, we would go in and lay out 40 mattresses on the floor. We would welcome our guests in from 10 p.m. They would come through the door and go through our process where we would search our guests and take their belongings off them before assigning them a mattress. Obviously, because of COVID, there's no way we could have had 40 people in a room. So that is why this year we are in a hotel. Our guests have got individual bedrooms. They've got a bed, a TV and a bathroom. It's been incredible to see the response that we get from our guests. We had one woman who literally fell to her knees when she walked into her room.
I used the Winter Night Shelter twice, so I stayed there for one night and then I was put into the St Enoch's Hotel for 5 or 6 days. And after that there was still no accommodation, so I used it for another night after that. The morning that I woke up, my second night at the Winter Night Shelter, I had a really bad day, became really suicidal, which then led me to getting accommodation after staying with family. The first time I walked into the Winter Night Shelter, my head was pretty all over the place, to be fair, because that day I didn't know where I was going to sleep that night. So it was good to have that kind of roof over my head, but I didn't know who was going to be there, what type of people were going to be there, what kind of danger I was in. Yeah, it was quite scary. We had to queue outside to get in. We got searched, we got all our belongings took off us, and when you entered into the main room there was just mattresses on the floor. You were given a sleeping bag. You had to kind of be there at a certain time to get a place on one of those mattresses. So since staying in the night shelter, my life has taken many paths. I ended up going to rehab where I kind of got a grip of my addiction through God, and now I'm in a much better place. I have a flat of my own, and I'm now volunteering with the Overnight Welcome Centre and hoping to get into more kind of work like this.
Hello, I'm Lorna McFadden. I'm one of the overnight team leads at the Overnight Welcome Centre. The night shift starts at 8 p.m. and runs through till 8 a.m. in the morning. Our new guests present at 8:30 when normal statutory services are no longer available to them. They arrive at the door, we greet them, we get some basic details from them, name, date of birth, a wee bit about their circumstances, and we would generally make a phone call to out of hours social work services at that point to establish if they're already known, if they already have accommodation, or if there's somewhere else where they should be. If they don't have anywhere to go, if out of hours are not in a position to assist them for whatever reason, we invite them in, we sit them down, we make them a cup of tea or coffee, and we get some details from them. Those details are shared with our partner organisations with the person's consent for the purpose of signposting them to find them the best support they can get. We then take them through the guest agreement, which is basically the rules for staying here. We take them up to their room, and then they're invited to come back downstairs and have an evening meal, which is served every night. After dinner, our guests would head upstairs to their rooms. The rooms are comfortable. Most of them do spend the night in their rooms, but we do have people popping downstairs to go out and have a cigarette or have a wee chat or look for a drink of water or whatever. And we take the time to have a chat with them. In the morning, we hand over to the morning coordinator what her priorities need to be with regards to dealing with guests and signposting them on to other services and supporting them in whatever support they may need for that day and moving forward.
Hi, my name's Morag McKeever and I'm the morning coordinator at the Overnight Welcome Centre. When I start in the morning, I take over from the night shift. It's great that they're there to gather as much information as we can on guests. With some information as to who they are, what their main needs are, and who we can then link them in with. This really helps us to link the guests in with the correct services in the morning. After we've completed the handover with the night shift, guests start arriving down for breakfast, and this is a great opportunity to meet the guests in a relaxed atmosphere, find out a little bit about them, check they've had a good night's sleep. After breakfast, the guests can head back up to their rooms, and we can start working on linking them in with various agencies best suited to their needs. Each lunchtime we will do a welfare check on all of our guests to make sure they're okay, and also to let them know that lunch has arrived. We're very grateful to Lodging House Mission for supplying nutritious lunch bags for our guests each day and lovely homemade soup.
This way of working has given our guests their dignity back. They're able to come in and get their own room and get the support that they need, all in the same building. We can wake them up at a reasonable hour and link them in with the support right here on site. Our guests don't even need to leave. It also means that guests have a place to come back to. So if they do leave during the day, we'll catch them when they come back, and they're still able to get that support. And that is something that we missed when we ran the Winter Night Shelter. So this way of working has taught us a lot, and we don't want to lose that.
The biggest differences are having a warm bed to stay in at night, having a shower that you've got for yourself, having that time with the staff as well. I think they're always here, so any time of the day you can come down and speak to them. And just the environment in general here at the Overnight Welcome Centre is totally different to what it was at the Winter Night Shelter. The biggest difference for me was waking up in the morning at the Winter Night Shelter. It was probably one of the hardest things to do. I just didn't want to wake up not knowing what I was going to do that day, having to be out by 8 o'clock, having the full day just to go and do nothing. Basically, there was nothing to do, and I feel like being here as a 24-hour thing, waking up in the morning and know you've got that security and breakfast and stuff and food for the day, it would be much more easier.
My name is Agnes and I'm one of the volunteers at the Overnight Welcome Centre. Being part of the Overnight Welcome Centre has been an amazing experience. Although we've seen quite a lot of desperation, it also has been a time filled with joy and kindness and hope. And I think the atmosphere between guests and staff members and volunteers has been a very special one, because running a 24-hour service, it means we lived alongside our guests and we would spend so much time together. We prayed together and we laughed together and we learned from one another, which has been amazing.
My role here at the Overnight Welcome Centre is as a volunteer. I have been coming in a couple of nights a week for a couple of hours, just helping out where I can, making cups of tea, coffee, serving dinner, and helping the staff members with whatever they need. By staying in the Winter Night Shelter and being where most of the guests have been, it's really easy to get that connection with them, and it makes you feel good when you can give them some of your experience and kind of help them.
Other services will signpost and bring guests to us. People will turn up on spec and just present at the door. And again, it's that phone call out of hours to see if they're already known, to see if they can be accommodated elsewhere, or to see if this is their last resort for that night until they can get further support in the morning. During the night, we also do welfare checks. Some of our guests arrive under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Some of them have health conditions. Some of them may arrive without the necessary medication that they would normally have. And for all these reasons, we may well do additional welfare checks.
The main task always has been to serve our guests and support them. We tried to provide them with whatever they needed, be it a cup of tea or a new jumper or just somebody to talk to. Another important task was to welcome guests at the front door and just welcome them with a smile or some small talk. We also served food and hot meals to our guests. Yes, I definitely managed to build relationships with our guests, especially with those of them who stayed for a longer time, because I think once you've listened to their stories and their problems, the guests will become more than just faces and names for you. And some of our guests had heartbreaking stories to tell, which honestly made me cry. But we've also laughed a lot together, and we spent so many funny moments together. And yeah, that has been wonderful.
One of our main aims is to try and move people on to alternative accommodation so that they're only with us for 1 or 2 nights. This year, because we've been a 24-hour service, we are much more involved with our guests, and this year it feels as if we've had a lot more asylum seeker guests. We've needed the expertise of specialist agencies such as the Scottish Refugee Council, the British Red Cross, Migrant Help and the Glasgow Night Shelter.
As many of the guests we've seen have been asylum seekers, and many of them spent time in Germany. I often was able to help as an interpreter and translate documents or whatever. Well, I think nobody should have to sleep rough, and everybody should have a place to stay and the opportunity to live a dignified life. And many of the guests we've seen would have had nowhere else to stay, and a lot of them had already experienced homelessness and rough sleeping, which, especially during the cold months, can be not only very uncomfortable but also very dangerous. So it is just vital to offer a warm and safe place to stay and some food and new clothing to those who need it. But I also think the Overnight Welcome Center has managed to provide more than this material support. I think the way guests have been treated here with dignity and respect, and the way we try to show them that we care for them and that they are loved and not alone, I think it made them feel valued, and I'm sure that such an atmosphere is just as important as all the material help the Overnight Welcome Center provided.
Elyse is almost crying.
No, stop that, please.